lot of nuts!
All right, boys, I've got a pop quiz for you. Over one of my shoulders is a red-winged hawk, and over the other one is a peregrine falcon. Now, can you tell me which one of these pictures is a retired professional skateboarder simultaneously struggling with his fame and inability to be recognized for said fame? If you picked either picture, I'm very disappointed in you. Listen, I don't blame the average individual for not being able to recognize Tony Hawk in a crowd of people or in a picture or something. You know, he's an old guy. Maybe he doesn't look the way that you imagine that he used to look. But it's not like people are good at recognizing anything ever. Most of the people on YouTube can't even recognize the greatest comedy channel to ever grace the internet. Hit the fucking subscribe button already. So in 1999, Activision published for the PlayStation 2 a game titled Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. A game that was so popular amongst the American youth, despite the fact that it was only released in New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Europe, that they decided to not only release 4 more games in the encompassing 20 years later, but would actually turn the main character of the game, Tony Hawk, into a real thing. I should clarify that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a skateboarding game based on the professional skateboarder Tony Hawk, and not Anthony Gordon Hawksworth, known professionally as Tony Hawks, who is a British comedian and author. I don't know when England discovered comedy, but I guess they have comedians now?
Transition?
Listen, according to Wikipedia, Tony Hawk was actually born before the video game, like technically and physically and factually or whatever, but we all know that somebody doesn't exist until the internet starts paying attention to them, you know? It's like when Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball came out, now all anybody cares about is women.
Transition?
Tony Hawk, okay? The skateboarder, that's who we're talking about. We're all on the same page here? Not the dude who made the knockoff Lego company, that's Tony Blocks, okay? Not the dude who does men's undergarments, that's Tony Socks, all right? And definitely not the American adult film actor, Tony Penis, okay? We're talking about Tony Hawk, the skateboarder. So everything was going fantastic for the Tony Hawk franchise, right? They were releasing a bunch of games, people were buying them, playing them, people were even picking up skating. It was great for the culture. I can do a kickflip. I don't have the space here to do it on camera, obviously, but I can totally do a kickflip. In case anybody was wondering, I can totally do a kickflip. That was until the 6th game in the series was released, Tony Hawk's Existential Nightmare, which is, it's canon, but it's a total deviation from the normal skateboarding games. In it, you play a middle-aged Tony Hawk, and instead of skating, you kind of just exist, which you think would be dope as like the most famous skateboarder in the history of mankind, but I don't want to spoil the end of the game for you, but it's weird, man. So in April of 2019, Tony Hawk tweets out the first tweet to begin this documentation of the cycle of the existential nightmare in which he lives, where he goes to try and pick up a rental car. And he can't find his name on the monitor, so he goes up to the guy to ask, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're actually Tony Hawk. I saw Tony Hawk in the name thing, and I thought somebody was goofing, so I deleted it." This is the brightest, happiest part of Anthony Hawkington's existential nightmare. That's his full name, right? Of his existential nightmare. He is so famous in this individual's mind that he could not conceive that the real Tony Hawk might come in to pick up a rental car. He's so famous that he's like, no way Tony Hawk's gonna come in here. And it's a memorable thing. I understand the struggle. When I place a mobile order, I use my real name, and when I go in for my drink, half the time it's not there. I talked to the barista and they're like, "Oh, you're the real SumitoMedia. I'm sorry. When we were making your apple crisp macchiato, we saw the name and we were like, no way the dude with the world's fattest cock is coming in for a coffee." So we just threw it out. Like, I understand the struggle, Tony. Flight attendant checking the overhead bin sees 4 skateboards, him joking, "Yo, is Tony Hawk on this flight or something?" Looks down and sees me. "Oh, I guess he is." Hilarious. Situational comedy, you gotta appreciate it. And again, before we descend into madness, we gotta appreciate the tweets in which people actually recognize Tony Hawk. I mean, you see a bunch of skateboards, you see a dude who looks like Tony Hawk, your natural assumption should be this is the professional skateboarder Anthony Hawkington. That's what everybody should assume. You should know this. Round 2, I made it easier. Over one of my shoulders is Tony Hawk, over the other one is Larry David. I understand they're both quirked up white boys with a little bit of swag, busting it down sexual style, and they might both be goated with the sauce, but you gotta get this one right. Come on. You suck at this, bro.
Transition.
Tony Hawk's getting his ID checked at the TSA while going through the airport, as he does The dude flies first class, I'm sure. Probably not, it's expensive. The dude checks his ID and goes, oh, Tony Hawk, like the skateboarder. And Tony Hawk's like, yeah, exactly. And the dude's like, I wonder what he's up to nowadays. He's standing in front of you. I cannot deal with people not... Tony Hawk was one of my idols growing up, man. And I refuse to accept that I've gotten so old that people don't know who he is anymore, man. There was nothing cooler you could be as a kid than a skateboarder or a YouTuber. And I decided on YouTuber. I could have been a skateboarder. Again, I can do a kickflip. I could have done that, totally. I just chose to do this instead. There's this YouTube channel called The Barracks, which has like 1 million subscribers, so the fact that I'm telling you about it feels kind of stupid, but they have this skateboarder, Erik Kochanski, who goes around telling kids to do a kickflip in his car, and if they do, then he gives them some free swag. They did a few celebrity versions with like Steve-O and what have you, of course. Tony Hawk was on an episode. You'd think people around a skate park who are capable of doing a kickflip would be going crazy seeing Tony Hawk. I did not believe the number of people who did not recognize him or mistake him for someone else.
Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Hawk, filling in. I'm your substitute do a kickflip guy from Erik Kochanski. Hey, do a kickflip! Oh, yes! You're on do a kickflip with the Barracks. I'm Erik Kochanski. All right. Yeah!
I thought you were Danny Way in the Tesla.
No, I'm Erik Kochanski.
Transition.
I would love to be on one of these episodes just to show off how well I could do a kickflip, because I can't. I'm at skate parks all the time. I don't know how they haven't bumped into me at this point, honestly. I'm just kickflipping and doing grinds.
Transition.
In June of last year, seemingly out of nowhere, on Avril Lavigne's TikTok, you guys know Avril Lavigne, my childhood crush, and also the singer of the proclaimed skateboarding song Skater Boy. I'm sure she can do a kickflip. Posted randomly to her TikTok a sort of body swapped, music mashed thing with the legend himself, Tony Hawk. I'll play it for you, but it's got the song in the background, so you know, I can do a little karaoke, but like just work with me here, okay?
He wanted her, she'd never tell. Secretly she wanted him as well. But all of her friends stuck up their nose. They had a problem with his baggy clothes. He was a skater boy, she said see you later boy. He wasn't good enough for her. She had a pretty face, but her head was up in space. She needed to come back down to earth.
I couldn't make it easier. If you pick the one in the middle, I swear to God I will come to your house and beat you to death with a longboard. Come on.
Next meme.
This is not the only time that Tony Hawk has jumped in as a stunt body double for a celebrity on TikTok who was either unable or unwilling to jump into a half pipe in whatever capacity. A little while ago, pop singer Lil Nas X decided we can't keep doing this joke, guys. Pop singer Lil Nas X released a series of shoes alongside his Montero music video that were very satanically themed. I thought they looked pretty dope and were filled with his own blood. 666 of these shoes were released, and naturally he received a ton of backlash about the satanic imagery and what have you, alongside the blood, human blood that was in these shoes. A little while later, legend Tony Hawk releases a series of skateboards that were painted with his own blood. And Lil Nas X was quick to point out that Tony Hawk did not receive the same backlash for using blood that he did for using blood and also a bunch of satanic imagery, but we're gonna gloss over that. On an Instagram post that Tony Hawk posted, Lil Nas X responded, nah, he tweaking, just sort of a dismissive, messy sort of gray area. Of course, none of this actually ended up mattering. None of the facts here matter, because it was all just a ploy to drum up a bunch of attention in order to put together a collaborative TikTok that thankfully does not have music in the background, so you don't need to deal with more of my karaoke.
Just kidding, he's got his new song playing in the background and YouTube decided to copyright strike me for it. So basically he's like, hey guys, what's going on? I'm gonna do some skateboarding tricks. Oh my god, look, I'm Lil Nas X. Oh wait a second, who's that white guy? Oh my god, he's so good at skating. Who would have known Lil Nas X was such a good skater? Although it's like really obvious that it's some quirked up white boy bussing it down sexual style and not him. Wait a second, is that Tony Hawk? And then he goes, that's how you skate. And Tony Hawk's like, nah, he's tweaking.
Like and subscribe.
And that's pretty much it. That's every interesting thing I could come up with that was meme related about Tony Hawk. There's nothing else. You don't need to stick around to the end of the video. No more news. Thank you to the subscribers. Thank you to the Patreon boys. Remember to leave a like on the video, and I'll catch you guys in next week's video. Tony Hawk's doing NFTs. Spisu.